Rotten Tomatoes has this sci-fi series rated at 90% from the critics and 78% from the audience. Guys, we're about to review The Mandalorian.
Brum, brum.
It sounds like Law and Order. Welcome back to Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel,
I'm Adan.
where we give you a review at least once a week. Spoilers. I think when Disney Plus pretty much started, The Mandalorian helped launch that or promote it that big, I believe. I think it came around the same time. I can't remember, which was like in 2019. Time just flew. We're in 2023. The third season just finished. I loved it. I think you loved it. I think we watched it together. I think the first episode, you were here, and I think we tried to watch the first episode. Is that right? Or I joined for the 7-day trial.
You
We
joined for the
watched
7-day trial, and I
right.
wasn't watching it with you, but there was like
Oh no?
no, I don't think we watched the first episode together.
Yeah, I think we did.
I maybe as a rewatch.
No,
I don't feel like we watched it on a premiere.
I think we did.
Was it here or
Anyway,
was it your place?
yeah, over here.
Wow. Oh, it was around Christmas.
Oh yeah. So
Because it was around the holidays. Yeah.
correct.
I've
Anyway,
rewatched that episode like so many times though.
oh, me too. I mean, the first season, I would watch each episode 2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
I guess to recap right before the next episode. This was an immediate hit. It had starring Pedro Pascal,
Yep.
who's in The Last of Us. He was in Wonder Woman 84. He was in Narcos. He did a guest spot on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was in
Nicolas Cage film recently.
The Kingsman Part 2. He was in that.
Wonder Woman.
I said that already. Thank you for paying attention.
I excel at observations.
It's created by Jon Favreau, Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
You have also Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed from the Rocky days. Kate Sackhoff, she plays
Bo-Katan,
which she prized her role because she was the voice of Bo-Katan in the Clone Wars.
True. A lot of people will probably know her though from Battlestar Galactica.
She had some guest spots in The Flash CW series.
She did. She played a villain.
That's something I want to talk about later in the sense of like in the world of Star Wars, age doesn't matter. Because when we see her in the Clone Wars and where we see her now, she should be a lot older.
True.
She should be close to. She should be like Obi-Wan's age. When he got killed, she should be. She wasn't a kid.
Yeah, that's true because this is taking place after Obi-Wan has already passed on.
No, it's even further. Is actually after Palpatine was taken down.
Yeah,
by Vader.
That goes into the argument like. Technically, the people that we watch in Star Wars, are they actually human? Because do they ever use the word human to describe their species? They do?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Well, damn, they just messed up the whole lore then. Because they could have argued for years that, like, yeah, no one's actually human. The lifespan differs.
Right. Well, I blame George Lucas for that because he didn't put it into detail in the sense originally.
Yeah.
Anakin and Obi-Wan, when they as a ghost, us as Force ghosts, they're around the same age. So they gave the implication that they grew up relatively together. They were like brother in arms at around the same age. But then George Lucas, with his prequels, bull crap, he made Anakin the Padawan of Obi-Wan, which was like silly, stupid. And then the age difference is basically 19 years from Revenge of the Sith into A New Hope. And you're going to see Obi-Wan and then from Revenge and then New Hope, the age like 40 years. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
It kills the lore, in my opinion, with that. But again, age is, I guess, irrelevant in here. Our time is irrelevant here.
True.
But let's go back to here. Jon Favreau took the idea of Boba Fett in the sense of his tribe, the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
And created a new character and expanded on the Star Wars universe. And that's why I love the show. It's not freaking Luke, Leia, Anakin, or any other Skywalkers. It's a fresh page, a fresh face, a fresh story, just like Rebels.
True. I mean,
that's what I like about that.
It like, given the exception that it still does touch into Jedi aspect. I mean,
yes and no. I mean, it touches base. Of course, you have the Grogu,
yeah.
who's the same species as Yoda, and there you have that Force aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like heavily like before, where you just focus on Anakin or focus on Luke or Ahsoka. It's not strictly just Jedi.
True. True.
This is more of him. And what I also loved about this, Jon Favreau or the series, it takes a lot of influence, of course, how the original Star Wars was done or the original trilogy was done in the sense of what influenced that cowboy film, samurai films. Of course, you have the sci-fi aspect,
Mm-hmm.
and still in keeping in continuity of the Star Wars universe because now it's going on. So it's like I believe it's 5 years after Return of the Jedi, Return of the Jedi, and we see him just being a badass. He comes in just like Clint Eastwood cowboy films, the spaghetti western films.
Yeah, yeah. He's declaring present like bounty hunter,
Right,
the guy.
the man with no name, right?
Yeah.
Which was influenced by Akira Kurosawa's movies Yonjimbo and Sanjuro.
Mm-hmm.
You have that, I guess, degrees of separation.
Are we going to be talking about all 3 seasons in
Yes,
one?
we're going to talk about all 3 seasons for the most part. In the sense, if we could remember what we liked in the first, what we liked in the second, what we liked in the third.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, right now, right? But long story short, in a sense, here we come to know who the Mandalorian is. He's Din Djarin. That's his name.
Yep.
And he befriends what is Groku's species called?
I don't think they ever gave it a name.
I'll say youngling, whatever. He comes with like
A foundling.
A foundling.
Not fondling.
No,
Foundling.
foundling. So anyway,
A former Padawan.
well, he doesn't know that, but he meets this baby Yoda and immediately he bonds with it. Why? Because he was in the same situation where he was found abandoned by a group of Mandalorians.
True.
That took him under his wing. From there, where we as the audience find out how or what in more detail the Mandalorian is about, the Mandalorian culture,
Yeah.
the Mandalorian way of life.
Which also explains like why, not just the fact that he was brought into this culture and whatnot. It's literally part of their culture to not do harm to lost children and stuff like that, to take them in, protect them, guide them. But obviously, when we first get introduced to this character and like their predicament, we don't know this.
So, I mean, this is why I liked about the series. Again, we don't know anything. We don't know anything. We get, here and there, we get reacquainted with some characters from either the animated show or from the movies,
Mm-hmm.
so like that. Pretty much more for the animated ones because that became it more. We saw live action versions from characters from the Clone Wars and from Rebels. Oh no, not Rebels. Well, maybe Rebels.
Yeah,
maybe I'm getting confused with Obi-Wan because that also happened there.
You're not wrong. They were on Rebels as well.
Oh yes, because it's such in season 3.
Season 2, season 1 as well, or no, season 2 as well.
Right. Okay. Even though Pedro Pascal is the driving force, he is Mando. But he's also in the sense of like how James Earl Jones was the driving force of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Right. You have David Prowse in the original series movies in the body, but the voice was James Earl Jones. You have here where Pedro Pascal is in the uniform, in the suit, very little. And just like how in Obi-Wan, Hayden Christensen is in the suit very little. Mm-hmm. Is his stuntman. There's other actors who are walking for him. There's other actors that are sitting for him. Here, Pedro Pascal is in it. Here and there, he does wear the suit. He is in it, but you have a guy who's a gunslinger wearing the uniform. You have a guy who's doing the martial arts for him, who's actually the guy who's the martial artist. He's more of a capoeira guy.
Yeah.
You have another guy who's just acting, and then you have Pedro lending his voice. And again, sometimes there are scenes where he has to take off the helmet, and there are some scenes where he does participate a little bit more, but for the most part, it's just him actually lending his voice. I guess he's the top bill, but how much really is him in that suit? So I just want to say that. We also have here the introduction of Fennec that then we later see in the Bad Batch. Oh, who's the one from Rebels? In season 3, we saw him. He had a cameo.
You're thinking of not the Jedi.
No. He was in the cantina. He's in Rebels.
Yes.
There was no Jedi. There was no Jedi from Rebels in here.
No. There was a Jedi in season 3, but that was Jar Jar.
Right.
I forget his name. I just know him as Jar Jar.
Ahmed Best. You mean Ahmed Best?
Yes. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
and which is a deserving performance he got. That was like a redeeming performance. But we'll talk about that later. Why am I forgetting that guy's name? He was like almost on for almost the entire series.
Right. And he was one of the original designs of Chewbacca.
Zeb or Aurelius.
But let's try to remember season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. The action was awesome. I love that they had Nick Nolte playing a character in there, even though it wasn't really him. It was, again, just like
his
James
voice.
Earl Jones and Pedro Pascal. Yes, he led in his voice, but it was perfect. It was perfect, especially when he's done talking to you or he's done saying what he had to say. I have spoken, which is awesome.
And his voice is like just that iconic voice. As soon as you hear it, you know it's him. But the way he delivers it and follows that with, I have spoken, it works. It works for his character.
Now, do you have a moment? Do you remember a scene or an episode that you liked from season 1?
Several. Episode 1, introductory scene to Mando, where like it's the opening scene and he was walking into the bar, just like how you quoted it, like just like the Clint Eastwood films, and doesn't say much. He's like, I'm looking for this man, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, you can come in. What's he said? It became like super famous when he said it. He's like, you can come in.
I can bring you in warm.
Or I can bring you cold. Yeah.
And almost like that.
And someone attacks him. And I remember this moment vividly. Someone at the bar tries to attack him. He completely beats the guy. And then the one guy tries to run outside the bar. He uses his the grappler, brings the guy in, and then the door's shut and cutting the guy in half. And that was our first introduction to Mando and what the series is going to be like. And I was taken aback because I was like, did they just show someone get cut in half on Disney? Mm-hmm. Really?
But there was like no blood and stuff like that. So, and it wasn't like really full blown on camera. It was kind of like you saw it.
Yeah, which is true. That's true. But the concept of it was very there. And I was like, oh, this is going to be promising.
Okay, so that's great. Again, the first season or the first episode, it grabbed your attention. It hooked you in. And that was what's great about it. It didn't take its time to build anything. It just got you right away. And then as the episodes progressed through the season, then you get a little bit more of the backstory. Then you get a little bit to know of the character.
Yeah, I would say like in season 1, well, here's the thing. Like every other episode in season 1 was super like a banger, as one of my friends would say, just a really good episode. And then we'll follow up with a story that's pretty good, but it was more world building, story driven side story kind of thing. It was like almost every, like just clockwork like that. Like the third episode, that was when they were trying to escape the town the first time. The fifth episode, meh. That was the one where they're where we could get Fennec for the first time. That was the highlight for me, meeting Fennec. But then we get the jailbreak, which I knew people at the time that I was like colleagues at the time, and we were like, "Yo, that's John Wick in space." He's literally going through the prison just like that, and they quoted that. And I'm like, "That's fucking hilarious."
They knocked that out of the park for season 1. They totally did. It wasn't like a cliffhanger, but it's like you just wanted more and more and more.
Absolutely.
Just because of the world we fell in and how things presented itself. Now, for me, though, I liked everything that Bill Burr was in, especially in season 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, no. See, let's focus on season. You told me to focus on season 1. So,
well, I'm just saying. I'm talking about that. I was going to go back to it. Can I go back to it? Jesus Christ!
You just said everything in Bill Burr, so like that covers
right. But he's in season 1.
He is. That's the prison scene.
Then, right. But guess who else is in there with him?
Oh yeah,
Clancy Brown.
fantastic.
He's been in Clone Wars. He was in Rebels. He was Lex Luthor in the Superman animated series. Bad guy in the original Highlander. He's amazing. And then his voice, granted, his role in that was a little small. And of course, he's a little old. He's older. He can't move as fluid. But just to have him there. And then to see Bill Burr, like this comedian who hates Star Wars. He doesn't get it. Like he doesn't get the fandom of it. But Jon Favreau wanted him in it. And it was kind of like the irony of a guy who doesn't get Star Wars, but he played it and killed it as that character, especially in season 2.
Way better performance in season 2.
Oh,
yes. To be honest.
That episode with him and going back to where he was from and speaking to his
former commander.
That was an intense scene.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have also here who's no longer with the series, Gina Carano.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I was so happy to see her in that. I had a big crush on her. Now she's a big girl in here. She used to be a lot thinner, but still like she could move and she was a great part. But then, she ran her mouth and unfortunately she could not continue after season 2.
Another fight was presented to her, even though it was a social media fight and she didn't want to back down when she should have backed down. She should have just ate crow. Because like I can tell you like Pedro did some stuff too, but like they hushed that real quick and I'll let it go, but she wouldn't let it hush. And it's one of those things like you just don't pick fights. If you're working for the House of Mouse, be a shadow. Don't be on the forefront.
Before we continue that, I want to go over some other things like the directors. There's several directors per season, and you have done a few as Bryce Dallas Howard, Dave Filoni, Deborah Chow, which she directed the Obi-Wan series. She shouldn't have, not the whole anyway, but she did. Carl Weathers directed a few episodes. Peyton Reed from the Ant-Man movies. He directed a couple. Taika Waititi, he directed one. Jon Favreau, he directed one. Robert Rodriguez, he directed one. He directed the Boba Fett episode in season 2.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Yes, but then what happened to the series then? You know what I'm saying? Like he presented so well.
He didn't do the series, did he?
Robert Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
he did the majority. He did the majority of it.
I blacked that out.
Right. Oh, sorry for saying his last name incorrectly because he was one of my clients back in New York in the gym days. Rick Famua. And I apologize, Rick, for messing up your name. But he directed about 6 episodes. When I knew him back then in New York, about over 10 years ago, I didn't know he was into film. And to see his name show up and then to see his face on the behind the scenes, I was like, holy crap, that was so cool. And then I've communicated, since I saw him there, I was like, congrats, I reached out to him and said, congrats on your work on The Mandalorian. He's done some other great projects as well. But just to see that, it was awesome. And then he did a lot more. He was more involved this season 3, with a couple more episodes in and producing and things of that nature. So it was awesome. How did season 1 end? I can't remember.
Season 1 was, do you remember now?
Yes, it was with the lava scene.
Yeah, and they introduced Moff Gideon.
And correct. That was awesome, especially with the Darksaber, all this stuff. It was good. Which I also liked here is like, it's almost every scene. There are some scenes that are on location, but for the most part, it's all in studio, and the technology is so amazing that you think they're outdoor, but they're indoor in the studio called The Volume.
It's like a dome.
Yes, and when the camera moves, the screens adjust to how the camera moves to film, and that technology is amazing. You just save so much on travel, location, all that stuff, where you can just put it digitally. And then you just fix a little bit up in post, and then you're done. Okay, let's go to season 2 because season 2 goes a little deeper. You have before we go that,
you didn't really give much for season 1 other than the prison episode with Bill Burr,
right?
What you like, unless you're just going to say the scenes I mentioned.
Well, no, I just like everything about it in that sense. I just love how Bill Burr's performance. But I want to go back to another episode where it reminded me of Now, probably getting confused with season 2, but I think this is in season 1. It reminded me of the Seven Samurai,
Season
where
2.
Din Djarin and what's her name goes to that town.
Ahsoka?
No, not Ahsoka. No, not that
Oh,
one.
I know what you're talking about. The episode's called Sanctuary. It's like a village, and
It's like a village,
and
right?
he meets a woman there that offers him a home, essentially.
I like that because it was, again, it just reminded me of Seven Samurai. Those two help with the town learning how to defend itself, how to form a security barrier, all that stuff. So it was, for me, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
You also have here to make a couple appearances, which I think he's a great actor. Not so much this time in season 3, but his appearance was, for me and Kim, was great because we follow him, or we used to watch his show along with Simon Liu, Kim's Convenience, which is currently streaming on Netflix. It is a Canadian show that tells the story of a Korean family. And Paul's son, Hyung Lee, who is a big, huge Star Wars fan, because he'll show on his post him dressed in Star Wars cosplaying and stuff like that. So it was for him like a dream come true to play as a new character. He's the old Asian gentleman.
Oh, the pilot.
So yeah, I liked that scene with the village. Again, that prisoner scene with Bill Burr. The ending of the season, yes, it was great because it gave such a great cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And to see Moff Gideon come out, played by Giancarlo Esposito, where he's from Breaking Bad,
The
Boys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's been from Spike Lee films way back in the day. This guy's been working. Working, and he's one of my friend's classmates from college. His cousin, just kind of like another 6 degrees kind of thing, but doesn't matter anyway. But you have throughout here too, also in all the series, you have guest appearances. We're not going to go into that too much. But we have the guest. Yes, it's countless. It's way too high, but it's kind of cool to see because they're all in prosthetics pretty much, and they're doing their best. You can tell by when you hear their voice. But for the most part, yeah. But besides that. Season 2, is there a moment that you did like?
I mean, there's several really good moments. I know the most iconic one that like almost broke the internet and is, I think, the highest rated episode on IMDb. It's like at 9.8. The other moment though was Ahsoka. Like that entire episode was a fantastic episode to me, especially that final duel. It was almost like one of those old samurai films, and yeah.
And it for me, that scene as well took me back to Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in A New Hope.
I can see that. Even though it brought back the Jedi to the forefront, like she was not, it showed like how good of a character she was, as I remember her more so in Rebels than I did in Clone Wars, because I followed Rebels more than I did Clone Wars. And she went in like a ninja, like just to go and like did what she needed to do. But then like her opponent wasn't like a Jedi force wielder or anything like that. It was just, was it not Countess? She had a particular name.
Well, her name was Morgan is Elsbeth. I don't remember her ranking order, but
she was like the pseudo shogun of the village or something like that, I want to say.
Okay.
Or the daimyo. I'm trying to relate it to a samurai film.
You can say that, but it was more like she took over. So it wasn't like,
yeah,
it wasn't like she forced herself onto that village.
A warlord.
Yeah, you could say that, warlord. Yeah,
okay,
which is pretty much a shogun. But the thing is, real quick, is that it was played by Diana Lee Inosanto. Does that ring a bell?
No, I don't. I don't think of anything that stands out like her as a performing actress.
Does Dan Inosanto ring a bell to you?
No.
Does Bruce Lee ring a bell to you?
That's Bruce Lee's daughter?
No, goddaughter.
Goddaughter.
Her father is Dan Inosanto. He was Bruce Lee's best friend, and he's also in Game of Death. He's in with Bruce Lee, that nunchuck scene.
Oh, yeah.
So she's been around for a while. She's been a stunt woman. She's done some small parts here and there, acting wise. And so here she has a nice part, big, good part. And she's going to be in Ahsoka. She's in that series that's coming out soon in August. So I love that scene as well. And then you also have Michael Biehn He's from Terminator. It was great to see him because we haven't seen him in a long while.
Yeah.
And to see him back acting, even in a small part like that, it was so good. And like the fanboy in me, because again, we know him from Terminator, and we also know him from
Aliens.
exactly, and also Tombstone.
Yeah. Season 2 did have your other favorite episode with Bill Burr, which was a fantastic episode for a lot of reasons.
It felt like the Usual Suspects kind of thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
It had that tension. The episode was actually really good in so many reasons. The train scene, the acting on that one, or the action on that one, right? Was it the train one where
It's
fighting
the Believer episode?
Right, and that one, and then you have that one where he's talking to his commander, Bill Burr. And I think that's also not the first time we see Mando take off his mask.
No, the first time we see his mask get taken off was
in season 1. I know that
because he got the explosion.
Right, but this is the first time we see him do it in front of others, people, because the one he did that time was in front of a droid.
Yeah, and this one, the droid was the one that removed it off of him.
Right, but I'm just talking about here. He had to do it in front of humans.
Exactly.
And you can see the struggle he had within that. So yeah, that episode was so good. Just the acting wise, not really. The action was good, but for me, it was the acting. And then you have, like I said, that episode with the samurai, very influential from past samurai films. I believe it influenced one of the action scenes in John Wick 4. But then the final episode, the return of Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Even though I knew a CGI when he took off the hood, it was just still great to see. I mean, I know so many fans got teary-eyed, and they're like, at the same time, he looks terrible, but they're still crying because
it was all they needed. It was like the moment you saw the green light. No, the moment you saw the X-wing, people were losing their stuff. Right. Then sealed the deal with the green lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
There was they could have kept the hood and no one would have questioned that was Luke Skywalker.
No, but really true. If you go on YouTube and you see some people's reaction, they're like so clueless. It's like, they're supposed to be fans. But they have no idea. But still, it's like, how do you not know? You have a guy with a green lightsaber. You have a guy wearing one glove. You have a guy who's coming in with an X-wing fighter. So, it's like, how can you not use deduction?
I'm saying if hypothetically they said we're just going to keep the hood on, but we'll use Mark Hamill's voice, that would have been enough for like 98% of the internet.
That would probably been better.
Maybe, that would probably been arguably, yeah.
Awesome. I mean, my opinion, I think that would have been cool. You're trying to figure out.
I know a lot of people wanted Sebastian Stan to like just do it because
that would have been awesome too. He looks just like him.
He does, yes.
Especially when he put the wig on, I was like, holy crap. Looks just like it. It would have been awesome. I would have preferred that.
Yeah, and I believe Mark Hamill even said like, yeah, he does. He perfect.
Yeah, just do that and put in the voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, that version of Luke Skywalker looked very stiff.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Also, the go about, we were talking about Michael Biehn and Terminator. You in that episode, was it that episode?
Wait, so you're going back to the Samurai Village, the Jedi episode?
No, I'm going to that episode where Luke comes in, but Din Djarin is fighting the Black Troopers.
Yes, Michael Bihn's not in that.
I know.
Well, you mentioned Michael Biehn again.
No shit, but I'm not talking about Michael Biehn. I'm talking about Terminator.
Okay.
If you let me finish and let me explain, then you can hear it.
No, you asked me a question and I followed up.
Did I?
Yes.
Oh, so anyway, but no, again, like we have this world of Star Wars, right? You can take it from a lot of influence from everywhere, but with his fight with the Black Troopers, I'm gonna call them Black Troopers. I can't remember their official name, but not Death Troopers, maybe Death Troopers
or the modified Death Troopers or something like that.
Well, they're definitely robotic.
Yeah,
his scene with them fighting is almost reminiscent of the T-800 and the T-1000, where Din Djarin is Arnold and the Black Troopers are the T-1000, where he's trying to freaking close the doors and they come and put their hands through the opening, just like T-1000 did in the elevator. He puts it in and tries to separate, right, to open the door to get to Sarah Connor, and Arnold shoots his head and he lets go. And then there's the scene where T-1000 is banging Arnold's head and smashing it. Is similar to what they're doing to Din Djarin on their fight. So there's a parallel there. The fight scenes in Terminator 2 and the fight scenes with Din Djarin and the Black Troopers.
I did double check. It's Dark Troopers.
Dark Troopers? Okay. Now, what I didn't like about season one, we're going to go back to season one. What I didn't like about season one is that, like the Bad Batch, where you have a story, but then there are side missions, just like in a video game.
Mhm.
And you have here in season one, and then also in season two, because he upgrades, just like you would in a video game. Once you complete certain missions or accomplish certain goals, you can upgrade your gear. And I noticed that here in the seasons. A little bit here with season three with Grogu.
I would say season 3 is the more refined.
Right. There's not so much upgrade. Well, also with Bo-Katan too, because she kind of did get an upgrade as well. I compare it to Assassin's Creed because a lot of times that's what happened to Enzo or the other descendants would complete a mission. They have the money so they can go to a shop and upgrade. And we're here. He was able to bring back the metal and they used it to put to his armor.
Yeah.
Now, season 3, out of the 3 seasons, to me, season 3 is the less interesting one.
Really?
You have so much going on. It felt unorganized. You have the spies. You have the loyalists to Moff Gideon and to the Empire, who's lobotomizes the scientist.
Okay.
You have Moff Gideon escapes, and then we find out he's at Mandalore, and then all hell breaks loose on the last 2 episodes, which were great. But I don't know. It just felt like it was going one direction, and then took a right turn. For me, the last 2 episodes were the greatest.
Oh, no, I don't disagree. The last 2 episodes were like the most action-packed episodes, and arguably
it could have been
of the,
it could have been
the
one
seasons.
It could have been. I'm sorry. It could have been one episode, one long ass one.
Now, see now. Okay, so someone I worked with also made a joke about this. That like season 3 is like Bo-Katan season, and they argued like the fact that this might be the last season for. This was before the finale, of course. That this might be the last season for Pedro Pascal, and like the show is literally called The Mandalorian, not Din Djarin.
Correct.
So like it was like setting up Bo-Katan potentially taking on the role for the rest of the series. So I can see like if you're focusing on that, the fact that it needs to be more about Mando, and it was like I think season 3 was more concise for the story, in where the side missions weren't like it was there, but it was to carry the story along, where in some of the previous seasons, the side stories that you jump on literally could have been episodes that you could have scratched entirely out the thing. Like season 2, the episode,
the frog,
yeah,
in the snow,
fun episode. I love it. It's a great episode. Really not relevant to the story as a whole. The Siege. I mean, that was a good episode. That could have easily been removed or condensed. So there was a lot of things that that could have been happening and reduced. Same thing with season 1. That happened with season 1. Here it was like all these little things. Maybe the convert, that side story that could have been reduced, and maybe the filing, but like all of them really helped to build to what you were getting at.
No,
I have to disagree.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I just felt like it was just not concise. Again, it was going from one story to another, one character to another, almost like Carl Weathers' character. Was he really needed in this season? Not really.
No, not really. But like, that's like going to a peaceful village. That's your safe spot. Like, that's like making the argument, like, is Splinter's character relevant when the turtles go back to their lair in the subway or in the sewer? Because all he does when you see him 90% of the time is sitting around. Maybe he says something to the boys.
Well, it falls in line a little bit like Boba Fett, where you have the main character, but then you have a couple episodes that's focused on someone else.
Yeah, and I know you don't like that though.
I don't. I want to focus on one character. Now I understand you want to get a little more backstory on Bo-Katan, what have you, but it's like, let's stay on Din Djarin and Grogu's relationship. But again, that's just me on season 3. For me, I think season 3 is the weakest out of the 3. It left me wanting more, not wanting more because it was so good, because it just didn't give me enough. It didn't satisfy me as season 1 and season 2 did.
Okay.
Besides, I'm going back to season 2 because of Boba Fett, the return of Boba Fett, which was great, but also did not make sense because he was tracking down the suit.
Yeah.
But at the same token, he went after Mando, who got the suit from.
You're talking about Timothy Oliphant, the Marshal.
Yes. So he had the outfit for a while, but Boba Fett never went for him. But when then Mando got it, he went after him. It makes no sense.
I mean, I don't
Especially
think
with-
in Boba Fett they explain like why he didn't go grab it first.
Well, no, but the thing is, he had a tracker. That's how he found him. The suit had a tracking chip, but he doesn't get it from the Marshal. He gets it from Mando, which again, it makes no sense. I mean, even though the show as a whole is great, there are some consistency issues that it doesn't make sense. But that, I mean, is minor out of the whole big scope of things. But still, it's just like, wait a minute, then why are you going after him when this guy had it the whole time and you've been looking for it? It doesn't make sense. Now, here we go. I'm going to ask you this because I know we're jumping all over the place.
Yes.
Do you believe Moff Gideon is dead?
No, I heard a fan theory about that.
That he's a clone?
Yeah, the one that we. Well, technically, if that's the case, then he is dead.
But is he, because he had the metal to protect him?
Well, no. So here's the thing. So the theory I heard is the Moff Gideon that we see in the final episode that dies is really not the real Moff Gideon.
Right,
He's dead. He's a clone because he had no mustache. Kind of makes sense if he's an incomplete clone, why he has an enhanced armor suit that's borderline like Darth Vader in a sense that is to keep his body functioning. Because you hear the suit go, like as he's moving, is making that like mechanical noise, like the T1, like the T800 in Terminator, and to supplement the fact that he's not normal strength also. But I mean, it's fan theory. He could have been the real Moff Gideon in that sense too, which let's be honest, if he was a clone and real Moff Gideon's still around, they just Palpatine him. Well, that will make it a little bit more cheesy.
Right. But the thing is, like, from what we've seen from the other seasons, Moff Gideon is smart.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll put himself in that easy predicament or situation.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm like, the theory does sound plausible.
I mean, the way he talks is similar to Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah.
Where I think that Admiral Thrawn was more of his mentor, or where they met and he found like inspiration or admiration for this guy. So he's going to emulate him and take his role or his approach very calculated. I don't think he's dead, the real one. I think it was the clone, especially so we just saw that he had clones there.
And they were pretty baked, like pretty well done. Like, they were ready to pop.
Exactly. And then the thing is, like, you could have the clones and then they could have been like, have them sanctioned at different locations to help rule parts of the galaxy. But we'll see if he returns, if he really is dead, because it just seemed a little too easy for him to go.
Yeah.
Granted, yeah, the ship crashed and all that stuff, but it was not really as climactic as, say, the other end of the seasons.
As far as like for the finale episode, it didn't feel as climactic. It felt like they were closing the chapter for Mandalorian with like a cartoon Disney ending, happy ending kind of situation. I even had that whole pan down and
great fight scenes, and I love the Red Guards, a callback to sequels.
Yes.
You can see that stuff is going in motion in that direction. Yeah, when I saw them, I was like, oh crap. Oh, yeah. That was
I think they're called the Praetorians, or
I'm just calling them Red Guard because they're red.
Yeah. Episode 8 was arguably my favorite episode of the season. It was and I remember a lot of the episodes I watched was at work.
Yeah. It's a trap. Sorry. They said that. I was like, oh my God, really? I was like,
you just want that guy to pop out.
Yeah, it would have been funnier if that did happen. It would have been better. I was like, holy crap.
So, like, I remember telling one of my managers, I'm like, bro, you need to watch this because we want to talk about this episode. He's like, fine, I'll watch it on my break. I'm like, good. And he comes back. He's like, I was questioning everybody here because at first you all said it was like a heavy action-packed episode, and I got about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then that last quarter, I'm like, yes. That last quarter of episode 8 was where it is, not episode 7 of the season. everything popped
But
off.
did he have his troopers, Gideon? Did he have his troopers wearing the same armor, or was it just him?
So his armor was more enhanced, but they were Beskar. So
Okay,
it
so
was
how come
Mandalorian armor.
they die so easily?
Because
Just like the stormtroopers. Because I'm saying, like, you have these stormtroopers wearing these armors to protect them from blasts.
yeah,
But they get hit and die almost instantly. Now, granted, some here that yes, some deflection, but they pretty much got dealt with easily.
I was watching someone that was talking about it, and they made a good comparison. You take a person, you give them a high-powered guns, and you give them like a bulletproof vest, and then you say, "Okay, go out there and fight a battle." Great. Now you give a person guns and a bulletproof vest, and you give that to John Wick, and then you say, "Go kill that guy." That battle is going to look completely different because one person is completely trained with that material and knows its ins and outs versus the other person that's like, I have the technology, I don't have the skills.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but no, I disagree. Because a lot of those shots were not kill shots. They had some, yes, where they were shooting like in the neck or underneath the helmet. That did happen. But for the most part, they're just getting hit in the chest and they're like, ugh, and they're dead. Just like how it was in A New Hope and the rest of the Star Wars movies, that every stormtrooper got hit and they just fell. I mean, the Empire must really suck in the body armor division because everyone gets hit. Even like I told you, like in the Return of the Jedi, Ewoks are throwing rocks at the stormtroopers, and the stormtroopers are getting knocked out. How is that possible if you're wearing armor? You should not be being knocked out or killed by getting hit with sticks and stones.
I told you my theory. You didn't like my theory.
It made no sense.
Hey, I stand by it. The Empire is all about financial gain, status and power. They don't care about their employees in the sense that they're going to give them the best of the best stuff. They're going to give them stuff that would be adequate, but not workable.
But okay, well, I would have quit if I was one of the stormtroopers. I'd be like Finn and quit.
I assumed that he gave them Beskar, but it was probably not pure or well done Beskar. And he was saving all the really good stuff because remember, it's a rare commodity. Think of like adamantium in Marvel. It's great, but it's extremely rare. Or like vibranium.
I understand that.
So he saved it for his clone babies that he wanted, that they got snuffed in their sleep.
All right, fair enough. Is this worth the watch?
This entire series?
Yes.
For me, absolutely.
Is it worth the price of admission, meaning to own?
I would be okay with owning this.
Okay. It is worth the watch. For me, not worth the price of admission. Season 3 let me down in comparison to season 1 and season 2. What they did in the episode they dedicated to Mando and Grogu and Boba Fett. They should have led that with the first episode for season 3. They should have done something like that. Talk about the Darksaber, him suffering. Because again, he didn't really suffer that much. He just pretty much gives it to Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
With degrees of separation. It was how she earned it. But the episode could have been in here and then a better explanation. But that's just my opinion on that. 90% again for the critics, 78% with the audience. I will say more like 85. Like season 1 and season 2, definitely in the 90s. Season 3 for me brought it down into the 80s.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm solid with like it being like an 87.
Now, which season for you was the better season?
Season 2. Overall is the best of all the seasons. Season 3 was fun for me because I liked how it flowed. I think it flowed for me. I know you'd say no, but I say it did flow the best as far as one cohesive story just going through.
Okay.
Hype moments, episodes that were like most iconic and like just intense. Season 2.
Okay, for me it's season 1.
Okay.
Out of the live action series so far on Disney Plus, Andor beats it, then Mando. Well, definitely not Boba.
It was that or Obi-Wan.
No, Obi-Wan's third, I guess then. But if you want to take a comparison to Andor season 1 and Mando season 1, I would say Mando's better than Andor. It's a toss-up. It's really a toss up per season.
Season 1 was of Andor kind of blew me away, but I
Yeah,
see
me
where
too.
you're coming
Yeah, me
from.
too. Yeah. Okay, guys, that is our sensational review of The Mandalorian. If you have a show or movie you would like us to review, please let us know in the description below or email us at tellthetwobros@gmail.com. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adan.
We have spoken.
This is the way.